Good morning, guys. Happy to be with you Tuesday morning. I have my cup of coffee, my small thermos, and we're going to read 2 pages of Les Misérables, this wonderful book. But before starting, I have to say, I think our book is in danger. We're not so many reading anymore, so let me know what you want. But in case we're not going to read on with this book, Les Misérables, we will start a podcast which was asked by Mahermo, and he wants to start learning Dutch. So think about it. Let me know what you want, guys. But anyhow, today we're going to read 2 pages of the second part, deuxième partie. And this deuxième partie, second part, it's about Cosette. And you remember, Cosette is the daughter of Fantine. Fantine, she died. And Jean Valjean is again in prison by this horrible policeman, Javert. So, let's see what it is all about. Jean Valjean est de nouveau écroué au bagne de Toulon. So, Jean Valjean is again, écroué means imprisoned in the prison of Toulon. So there is again, he was already in prison, and now he's in prison again because Javert found out he changed his name. Okay, so, un jour, employé à une corvée à bord du vaisseau, il intervient de manière providentielle pour sauver un matelot en danger. So one day, employed to a chore on board of the vaisseau is the vessel or the ship, he intervened de manière providentielle, means in a providential way, so in a very incredible way, to save a matelot. It's a young sailor, huh? A sailor in danger. So he tries to save a sailor. À l'issue du sauvetage, la foule voit le forçat tomber à l'eau. On le croit mort. So at the end of this saving or this rescue, the crowd sees le forçat, the galley slave, Jean Valjean, fall into the water and, not end, there's no end, sorry. On le croit mort means they believe him dead. They think he's dead. Pendant ce temps, Cosette, la fille de Fantine, vit chez les Thénardier. So, well, just before we read on, somebody falls in the water and then they think he is dead. Doesn't that make you think of another wonderful book in French, Le Comte de Monte Cristo? That's a very, very nice book. Maybe one day we will read it. Google it and you will see it's a very wonderful story. But, so, during that time, Cosette, the daughter of Fantine, lives with the Thénardiers. So you remember this is this couple, the innkeepers. They're not very nice, but she lives there. Elle est servante dans leur auberge à Montfermeil. So Cosette, she's a servant in their inn, their cafe or an inn, because she's working in the inn, in Montfermeil. Et subit leur vexation et leur maltraitance quotidienne. And so she suffers, or subir really is to undergo. So she undergoes their vexation, could we say harassment, and their abuse. You see, maltraitance is to treat somebody badly. So, and their abuse. So they're not at all nice with her. La Noël de l'année 1823 fut particulièrement brillante à Montfermeil. So the Christmas of the year 1823 was particularly brilliant in Montfermeil. Montfermeil is this place where they live. Le commencement de l'hiver avait été doux. So the beginning of the winter had been soft, but in French, when you say soft, you mean, in fact, warm and not very cold. If you say it about the weather, it means not very cold. Il n'avait encore ni gelé ni neigé. So it had not yet neither frozen nor snowed. Des battleurs venus de Paris avaient obtenu de monsieur le maire la permission de dresser leur baraque dans la grande rue du village. Des battleurs, it's like performance, maybe acrobats, but I would say performance, come from Paris. So who had come from Paris, had obtained from Mr. Mayor, the mayor, the permission to put up their barracks in the big street of the village. Et une bande de marchands ambulants avait, sous la même tolérance, construit ses échoppes sur la place de l'église et jusque dans la ruelle du boulanger où était située la gargote des Thénardier. So, and une bande is like a gang or a group of merchants. But ambulant means like traveling merchants. Ambulant, you see here. Had, under the same tolerance, meaning the same tolerance as the performers, constructed its or their échoppe. Une échoppe is like a small stand where you sell things. So they had constructed their stands on the square of the church, in front of the church on the square, and until in the Ruelle du Boulanger. It's the name of a street, but Ruelle, it's a small street. So it's a little street, in the little street of Boulanger. It's a name, but Boulanger, it's a baker in Baker Street. Isn't it not James Bond, I'm stupid. Isn't it Sherlock Holmes living in Baker Street? Maybe. Let's see. Où était situé, so where was situated the gargote? It's also an inn or a tavern of the Thénardier. Cela emplissait les auberges et les cabarets. So that filled the taverns and the cabarets. So the fact that they had put up their barracks and their stands. Et donnait à ce petit pays tranquille une vie bruyante et joyeuse. And it gave to this small country, to this small peaceful country, a loud and joyful life. Yes, there was a lot of people, a lot of movement, people talking, a lot of things to buy, and so on. Dans la soirée même de Noël, plusieurs hommes, rouliers et colporteurs, étaient attablés et buvaient autour de 4 ou 5 chandelles dans la salle basse de l'auberge Thénardier. So in the same night of Christmas, at Christmas night, several men, rouliers, that's like the cart drivers, and the colporteurs, that's the people who sell door to door, were at the table, attablés, it's also a verb, were at the table, and drank around 4 or 5 candles in the low room of the Inn Thénardier. So there was a lot of people there. Cette salle ressemblait à toutes. So this room was the same and looked like or resembled all, and I think all inns probably, but let's go to the next page. Let me see if I can find it. Should be here. Yes, here it is. Okay, it's a bit too big. So it looked like all the salles de cabaret, all the cabaret rooms. Des tables, tables, des brocs d'étain. What shall I say? So broc is jugs, and étain, that's a special material. I think it's tin jugs, des bouteilles, bottles, des buveurs, drinkers, des fumeurs, smokers, peu de lumière, little light, so not much light, quite dark, beaucoup de bruit, a lot of noise. So it looks like all cabaret rooms. La date de l'année 1823 était pourtant indiquée par les deux objets à la mode, alors dans la classe bourgeoise. And let's already translate until there. So, the date of the year 1823 was anyhow indicated by, or maybe we could say like characterized by, the two objects à la mode, fashionable or maybe trendy, then in the bourgeois class. So two objects were very trendy at that time. Qui était sur une table, savoir un kaléidoscope et une lampe de fer blanc moiré. So, which were, so those two objects were on a table. Savoir means which is a kaleidoscope, that's the same word in English, and a lamp of white iron. I think it's also tin. There's also, I think, the tin material. And moiré is like a shimmering lamp made out of, I would say tin plate, fer blanc. If you have another translation, please tell me, but I think that's what it is. La Thénardier surveillait le souper qui rôtissait devant un bon feu clair. So the lady Thénardier, because it says la, so we know it's the woman, Thénardier, she watched, surveillait, kept an eye on the supper which was roasting in front of a good, clear fire. So she's checking on the meat roasting or the supper which is roasting on the fire. Le mari Thénardier buvait avec ses hôtes et parlait politique. So the husband, Thénardier, the man, drank with his guests and talked politics. Okay, and then we have Cosette, but I first want some coffee. Sorry, guys. I need it today. Good. So, Cosette était à sa place ordinaire, assise sur la traverse de la table de cuisine, près de la cheminée. So, Cosette was at her ordinary place, her normal place, sitting on la traverse. I think it's like the cross piece of the table of the kitchen near the chimney. Elle était en haillons. Haillons means rags. So she was in rags, didn't have like proper clothes, wasn't dressed properly. Elle avait ses pieds nus dans des sabots. She had her naked feet in des sabots, it's clogs. You know, the wooden shoes, in wooden shoes. Et elle tricotait à la lueur du feu des bas de laine destinés aux petites Thénardier. And she was knitting at the light of the fire. And what was she knitting? Des bas. Yes, bas, it means low, but it's also stockings. She was knitting stockings of wool, like woolen stockings, destinés aux, intended for the small kids Thénardier, the children. Un tout jeune chat jouait sous les chaises. A very young cat was playing under the chairs. On entendait rire et jazzer dans une pièce voisine deux fraîches voix d'enfants. So one heard, you could hear, but one heard laughing and jazzer is like chattering maybe, in a pièce voisine, a neighboring room, two fresh voices of children. C'était Éponine et Azelma. So those were the kids, Éponine, and Azelma. Au coin de la cheminée, un martinet était suspendu à un clou. So at the corner of the chimney, a martinet, I think it's a whip, was hanging from a nail. Un clou, it's a nail. Par intervalle, le cri d'un très jeune enfant, qui était quelque part dans la maison, perçait au milieu du bruit du cabaret. Par intervalle, I think you could exactly say the same in English, like in intervals, like once in a while. The scream or the crying of a very young child who was somewhere in the house. Perçait, pierced, came through, was piercing in the middle of the noise of the cabaret. So once in a while, you heard like a piercing voice. C'était un petit garçon que la Thénardier avait eu un des hivers précédents. So it was a small boy that the woman Thénardier had one of the preceding winters, so like one of the previous winters. And then she said about this boy, sans savoir pourquoi, disait-elle, effet du froid. So without knowing why she had the child, she said, the effect of the cold. Effect of the cold means people are really close together, I think. Et qui était âgé d'un peu plus de 3 ans. And this boy who was aged, he had the age of a little bit more than 3 years, a young boy. La mère l'avait nourri, mais ne l'aimait pas. The mother had nourished him, had fed him, but she did not love him. Quand la clameur acharnée du mioche devenait trop importune, so when the clamor or, well, the crying, acharné means the ongoing crying, could we say the relentless crying of the mioche, like it's like the brat, it's not a nice name, became too unfortunate, too bad, then I think it's the man screaming, ton fils piaille, disait Thénardier, va donc voir ce qu'il veut. Your son is, piailler, it's a bit like chirping, not a nice word, like he's crying, chirping, said the man Thénardier, so go and see what he wants. Bah, répondit la mère, il m'ennuie. So, answered the mother, he's bothering me. So she doesn't care. She doesn't care about her little boy. Et le petit abandonné continuait de crier dans les ténèbres. And the small one, the small abandoned boy, continued to scream in the dark. Les ténèbres, it's like in the shadows, in the dark. Okay. Cet homme et cette femme, c'était ruse et rage mariés ensemble. Attelage hideux et terrible. Ah, yes. So, this man and this woman, it was ruse. Ruse is like craftiness and rage, like fury, married together. Attelage, it's like a coupling or a combination of hideux et terrible. Hideous and terrible. I would say, yes, hideous and terrible. I think that's the best translation anyhow. So, pendant que le mari ruminait et combinait, la Thénardier, elle, ne pensait pas aux créanciers absents. So while the husband ruminait et combinait, well, the two verbs, I would say he was plotting and scheming. That's how I would translate it. The wife, la Thénardier, she did not think of the absent creditors, so the money they owed. She didn't think of that. N'avait souci d'hier ni de demain. She didn't bother. Se soucier means to bother, to worry. She didn't worry about yesterday nor about tomorrow. Et vivait avec emportement, tout dans la minute. Yes, how could I say? And she lived with emportement. We could say anger. Everything in the minute, everything all the time. She was like angry all the time. That's what it says. Well, guys, we've read the 2 pages. Let's wait and see how many you are. Let's wait and see if we have to change our podcast. But please let me know. Anyhow, have a very, very wonderful Tuesday. Yes, we are Tuesday in Belgium here. It's raining again, but let's enjoy a good cup of coffee. Bye bye.